Welcome back, guys, to the Beyond Condition podcast, where today I have an avid listener of the podcast and also a friend through the sport of bodybuilding. And we actually met in a toilet at an NFMK show, I must
I was,
say.
I was literally going to mention this. I was like listening to the one that you did with Carly, and I was like, the best of friends meet in the toilet. So I was like, I've literally got the check-in where you're doing your makeup in the
And it is like a true reflection
oh,
of bodybuilding on the face of it. I think people from the outside would look and go, God, all of these focused athletes, they can't have fun. They can't do anything away from bodybuilding. And actually, you make these connections naked in a tanning booth or in a toilet or like these such far-fetched situations. And I think it's definitely something that I always try and get across to people. You can have fun with this sport as well.
100%. I think I've had more fun in this sport than like the whole entire life that I've lived. Like
Yeah.
bodybuilding is good.
Yeah. And of course, for both of us, you can resonate with it gives you another identity. So we are people away from the sport as well. We're people, we're Rimini and Sarah, but we're also bodybuilders, and it gives you that connection with people that you wouldn't have met in life otherwise.
100%. You've got like a bodybuilding circle, and then you've got your circle, which isn't bodybuilding. It's just so nice to have sometimes.
Yeah.
And if you need that support from the circle of bodybuilding, you can go to them and they'll understand. Whereas if like, so for example, I went to my mum and talked about I've not had enough protein today, she'd be like, oh, it doesn't matter, it's all right. I'll be like, no, it's not. In my head I'm like, no, I need the gains, I need the protein.
Yeah, but that's so relevant as well. One of my clients, Victoria, she actually listened to a pod, and I think the person did a YouTube video as well. And she sent it to her mum, and it was basically an episode explaining what bodybuilding is for the people close to you that don't understand it. And her mum was like, oh, okay. I've had this with my mum, as you've heard on the pod, like she doesn't understand, but you can softly educate, but there's no point in going into it in too much detail, of course.
Yeah, 100%. I think when I was prepping and I lived here, so obviously I live with Jack now, but when I lived at home and I did prep, there was so much confusion, and my parents were like, oh, you could just have like this. And I'm like, no.
I need to crack it. It's funny as well, isn't it? Because I think probably from similar eras, our parents, nutrition wasn't really as I guess informative when they were growing up. So my mum doesn't have any clue on any there's examples that I can think of, and I just think, look, she just literally doesn't know. But it's not because she doesn't want to per se, it's just that it wasn't really around then. And you've got to sort of take yourself back and go, they know nothing about it, so how can I sort of softly educate them? And even just saying this is what protein is and what that would look like, because my mum thinks there's protein in a banana. You know what I mean? And it's like, no.
You need to start liking bananas if that's the case. But obviously with that as well, like our parents, their generation, when it was like they were in their prime ages, they were looking at probably bodybuilders like Arnold, Ronnie Coleman. So that's how they relate to bodybuilding. They look at that and go, well, you're going to be massive and you're just going to be really, really enhanced.
Yeah.
So my parents weren't too keen on it at the start, but then the show that we met at, they went to watch that show and they actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And once I was finished, I was like, oh, guys, you can go home. It's fine now. I'm done. And they was like, no, we're going to stay and watch it. I was like, oh, like, yay.
Yeah, of course. My mum actually said to me when I said I was going to become a bodybuilder, she said, are you going to look like Jodie Marsh? That was the first thing she said.
Yeah.
And like you touched on there in Hahn, I don't know for sure, but I'd imagine Jodie Marsh went down that route because of how she looked. And then, of course, training age, there's genetics, there's various other things, which on the face of it, you wouldn't even consider that's what goes into someone's physique. You just think, X, Y, and Z, and assume
the stereotypical assumptions of bodybuilding. If you don't know what it is.
How have you found moving in with Jack, like being a bodybuilding couple and doing it?
The easiest thing ever done. Like it just makes me feel a lot more normal because we're kind of both doing the same thing. Whether we're either like meal planning, macro tracking. Jack's my coach now as well. I'm gonna go with a different coach when I go back on prep, but for now, he just needs to like have his eyes to watch me, and that's it. I'm really happy. I think the most progress I've made is with Jack as well. which is absolutely crazy. Could you think that if your boyfriend's also your coach, it would get in between you? But I feel like, if anything, it's made us closer because it's
Yeah.
helped me understand things as well.
Yeah,
It's made me gain a lot more knowledge.
yeah, because if you're in a relationship and you've got that respect, you can, like, Matt will give me a second eye alongside my coach in between check-ins and things. And he's
Yeah.
like, I'm doing it from a physique coach standpoint. I'm not looking at you going, I'm going to blow smoke up her ass just to make her feel better. And
Yeah.
you've got to have that understanding, haven't you? But I can see how it could go wrong, but luckily we're in a good partnership.
See, this one not having him for prep. If he dare takes all my cards away, I'll be like, eh. And we're both planning on prepping together next year.
Okay.
So power couple. But yeah, like, yeah, I don't want him to not be on any cards and then going, Rimini, you're not having any cards, because I feel like it would just explode.
Yeah, why not? Of course, today we're going to talk about your transition from bikini to figure, and that's you sent in as a question for the pod. And I thought, you know what? You're such a shining example. I've mentioned you on the pod before, and we've spoken about that. What it takes to move categories if you're wanting to be competitive, and that is the main undercurrent here. You can change categories and compete, or you can be competitive, and what that takes is the longer off season, like you're doing 3 years of an off season.
I was going to say, being a competitor and being competitive is the whole reason why I'm taking another year out.
Yeah, because it's so competitive now.
I've seen the standard that I will be working against, and I'm just like I've only been training for 3 years in August.
Yeah,
that's not long at all. So if I'm going to be completely honest, I don't think I'm ready to show myself again on stage just yet.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
Yeah, and it's able to have the chance to compete in bikini. You could see, first of all, do you like the stage? Do you like what goes into a bodybuilding prep? Is it for you? And to get that experience and then go, I like bodybuilding, but I want to be figure. It's like, how do I get to that point?
Yeah, 100%. So obviously doing bikini, I absolutely fell in love with it. I think it was just the fact that I absolutely love lifting heavy in the gym as well. Like, if you've not seen me deadlift, like, I wouldn't really say I've got a massive ego, but I like to lift over double my weight kind of thing. And I wouldn't ever want to stop that because of staying in bikini, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to ever limit my weight training progress.
Yeah.
And being able to be like, that strong ass woman. Because eventually, who knows, I might go into natural bodybuilding and do the actual female bodybuilding or female physique. So yeah, like, I don't ever want to limit my performance in the gym, if that makes sense, without putting a down on bikini girls. Like, you still work just as hard. It just takes that little bit more from you, if that makes sense. And training's a little bit more intense.
Yeah, it's a different ball game, and there is also taken into consideration when looking at your category, certain people will fit a category, and that's something I had to, I guess, swallow, because I'm very similar to you in regards to, I want to train really hard and I want to see the benefits of that. And then when I've looked at my physique and spoke to various people for sort of an outside opinion, it's like, you've got the shape of bikini, so I want to do that well. But I've always had that, like, I'd love to do, because it's almost like, I think as well, if we look at it objectively, when you're in bikini category, 50% of your marks, or up to 50% of your marks, is hair and makeup. For me, that was hard, because that's, it's not exhibiting your hard work per se. Of course, like you say, you've still got to work hard. And, as you go into the realms of the more physique based sport, it's like, okay, so there's more marks on the physique. So that's definitely attractive for people like ourselves.
Definitely. And then obviously you get to do your little routine as well, which is extra nice over here. I absolutely love watching the routines. Like, when I was a judge for WMBF, I was just falling in love with all the routines that everyone did. I was like, I want to do that. It's just so good to me.
Yeah, it's so capturing and emotive, isn't it? Because you choose your song. You can see some people, it's almost like, I don't know, it's like they're putting on a show, really, isn't it? Yeah. Have you started looking at that realm yet, or because you still got?
I started looking at that like when I was still doing bikini, when I was competing. I've looked at some songs, and I'm looking at, like, the fairly dramatic go-to songs. Yeah, that's just one of them. And then I just want to just do a little turnaround and then just do a backflip or something, just something like, whoa.
Yeah, for sure. So as I already know, you're going to stay natural, which is something that we spoke about when I gave you judges feedback.
Yes.
Pushing your natural potential is something I say to anyone that sort of asks me about it, and sticking with that, and potentially that meaning that you need the longer off season rather than 1 or 2 years, maybe the 3. It's, I think, something that's quite important for the listeners to understand, because I do get people that are first timers that have just jumped into the sport and they're already considering PDs. And I'm sure from what you're doing that you'd agree with that.
Yeah, 100%. I know many people who don't train for a long period of time and then go into a prep and they're already on Anavar. It's nothing against that. It can be to do with the type of federations that they enter. Obviously, if you don't go natural federations, you're then against people that are going to be enhanced, and that's something that people either have to accept and just go natural or join the gang. And that's it. In terms of education around steroids and stuff like that, I've not really had a lot of education on them. Hence why I listen to these podcasts a lot, because you've given more out than, like, for example, any coach has given to me.
Thank you. Yeah.
But I've never turned around to a coach and gone, I want to start gear, let's go.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So I've not ever gone out my way to go, okay, I want to do this now. Help.
Yeah. It's definitely something you do hear so many stories where people join a gym, they start competing, and then gym owner or whatever, or someone that trains, try this. And something that is I guess the biggest undercurrent for me and getting Joe and people on the pod is the risk of virilization and how that route can take you, with maybe not even knowing that's a possibility. And of course, like you say, if you're competing in untested federations, then it is a consideration. But also, again, what is your goal from competing? So we've spoken about, for you want to be competitive. That's very different to someone just wants to jump in and give it a go. So definitely some considerations around that. But it's great. I really enjoy on your Instagram and what you share, that you're showing the off season and that phase where it can be uncomfortable, but you always promote how positive it feels to be strong, to have the food, to be able to train hard, and all of the plus sides to off season, which is often forgotten when your body composition changes, of course.
I was going to say, many people tend to hide their off season. A lot more recently, people are opening out to it, so it's really nice to see. But at the end of the day, this is part of the journey, and it's bodybuilding. You're building a body, it's not just stage. Yeah. Like, stage is literally this much, it's a minuscule of the actual journey that you're putting yourself on.
Yeah, it is hard to embrace as well, isn't it? And we touched on before we press record which bit you found the hardest, and maybe you could talk a bit about that, like the first season that you watched and you weren't prepping.
Yeah, so obviously my first off season that I did before I competed was absolutely fine. I was really happy with it. I think I got to 55 kilograms. From 45 to 55, that's a big achievement for me. And then obviously I prepped. And then I think it was a long period of post-show blues. And I think everyone gets this on the first time. I didn't rebound badly. I rebounded really well. I think I only had gained 3 to 4 kilograms in 2 or 3 months, not even that.
Cool.
So I had the right support around me at the time. And I think it was to do with the fact that obviously I decided to go into figure. So I knew that I had to take a step back. And in my head, I was kind of going, but if I did bikini, I could prep again.
Yeah.
If I did bikini, I could do this again and I'll be fine. Or I could go into figure and just do it for the fun. But then in my head, I was like, it's not worth it. And then I had a bit of a downfall with the coach that I was with at the time.
Okay, yeah.
Which didn't help. And then I suffer with irritable bowel syndrome as well, which again, if you're stressed, you get ill.
Yep. Give a sign, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I was stressed about a few things and my weight just stayed 53 kilograms.
Yeah.
For about a good 5 months. And my coach had dropped like 1,000 calories to try and like resort my system out, and it just wasn't happening. Yeah. Obviously my mental health was bad, my lifting hit a plateau. Obviously me and Jack then were still long distance, so I didn't have that support with me at the time. And it got to a point where I was like, right, the coach that I had at the time wasn't as supportive as he could have been.
Yep.
For example, I was meant to get like a new training plan. It took him a week to reply back and then go, oh, I'm going to do it next week. And that's when I just went, no. I was like, no. Right. Jack literally made me one in 20 minutes and we got straight to it. And that was like a fresh kind of start for me.
Yeah.
And it was so nice. And I've made so much progress since. And having Jack just to like reassure me and go, you're going the right path. That's absolutely fine. I then went from 53 kilograms to 59 in 6 months. And that was amazing for me, even though it is uncomfortable. And that's the heaviest I've ever been.
Yeah.
I was lifting the strongest I've ever lifted. Apart from now, because now I'm building back up. It was the strongest I've ever lifted at the time. The happiest I felt at the time. Yeah, half my clothes didn't fit, but that's fine. I got a new wardrobe.
Very relevant.
And everything else around me was going good. So like massage business, work in the gym, social media, you know, everything has to go right. And if it doesn't, or if something is there that's completely putting you out of your goal, it's kind of a situation where it's like, thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to go over here and make it better.
Yeah. It's so relevant, isn't it? Because I said this to a client actually in the check-in this morning. You know, she's doing really well. And it's the first week she's reported no challenges this week. And I was like, Dee, this is the law of attraction. That's
what you want.
Yeah, you're a good person. You're a kind person. You're working on your physique. You're doing something that some people will never do in their whole life. Nutrition, training, all of these things. And this week you've had a really good week. And when you are a good person, when you do emit the right energy and you start to realize what doesn't serve you and you take control, things start to work. And you're like,
100%.
Surely life can't be this good.
It's easy when you get the hang of it.
Yeah,
it's so easy.
Yeah. And it's also accepting yourself, isn't it? And as bodybuilders, you know, like we're talking about with your off season, accepting that is what you're going to look like when you're next on stage is what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Which is 100%. so important. And for Jack to reinforce that, and touching on what you said about coaching, it's something that Rob, me and Emma spoke about on the pod that's going to actually go live tonight.
Nice.
Unfortunately, this is an industry, it's not necessarily vetted. A lot of people are out there and they're coaching, and when you're waiting a week or 2 weeks for a response, this is something you will relate to as now going online coaching. It's not the way it should be.
Like I've been coaching for a month now, got 5 clients, and the latest I've replied to someone is, say if they've sent a message at 11 o'clock at night, I've replied back at 8 in the morning.
Yeah, I can't leave messages unread.
I can't even. During the day, I think I had a client not reply to me for like 9 hours. I kept going, do you reckon she's all right? Like, do you reckon she's okay? Do you reckon she's happy? Do you reckon, like, I'm so, like, because now they've invested in me, I feel like I invest in them so much. And even, like, if they tag me a story of them lifting weights, I will literally cry because I'm like, oh my God.
I know.
Like, look at them getting strong.
Yeah, we're changing people's lives, and it's our job and our due diligence as coaches. Someone's paying for a service, and that shouldn't be forgotten. I've always said to all of my clients, I'm sure you're the same, you know, if they're not happy with something, tell me.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe we could talk a little bit about how your training has maybe changed from when you were doing bikini to what your focus is now. So obviously performance is a big thing for you. Is there some big changes that have been made to your training plan, as it were?
I think so. When I first started, obviously, what did I do? I did upper lower, push pull legs. That was fine. Then when I was on prep, I did upper lower, glutes and delts, upper lower.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like, what's my split currently? So this is a long one. So it's an 8-day split. So I've got 3 rest days. So
okay,
it's upper, quads, rest, posterior, rest, push, legs.
Yeah. And you enjoying that sort of split?
My favorite split so far.
It's really
But
nice when you start to like section, like posterior, you know, when you can actually do focus sessions. It's really cool, isn't it?
yeah, going from stiff leg deadlifts to Smith split squats is not the best. It's painful, but it's needed because I know that my legs are a weakness. Like the things that I need to bring up are my legs and my delts. My back, we've taken away a load of volume from my back because it's ready.
Yeah.
And it's my strongest asset for figure.
Yeah.
So that needs to like chill out a little bit.
Yeah, but it is appropriate, isn't it? Georgia, who came on the pod not long ago, she was saying about she's very dominant in certain areas. So one of those being her back, and I think she said she does like 2 exercises a week for back, just to sort of just keeping it there and not having to do as much volume when she does upper and focusing on things like delts.
Yeah, lots of lateral raises and shoulder press. So many, but it's just literally because my back is literally like doing a lat spread or a backward relaxed. Like even my posing coach has said like this is amazing top half, but bottom half doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And that's good like feedback because that's what I want. I want someone to be honest with me and go, okay, well you need to be equal now with your legs. Because figure is literally that hourglass shape.
Yeah.
From delts to waist to hips. Or to glutes even, and their legs have to follow. And if I'm not bringing that shape, I'm not fitting the criteria.
Yeah,
and it's pretty simple as that.
Yeah, this is exactly what, you know, people need to consider as well when you're going into competing. Read the criteria of the different federations as well, because I'm sure you know different federations, different posing, but it's the same category.
Different federations, different posing, and different style of the category as well.
Yeah,
bikini is difficult. And
it is.
You know what? When I competed in bikini, I look back now and I was like, I don't even think I was lean enough for the whole thing. But I'd won one show, and then like the rest, I placed quite highly in them.
Yep.
But the only area of improvement I actually really got was more condition.
Yeah, and it's not something you learn till you compete.
Afterwards.
Yeah, and
afterwards, and you look at your page.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's. Some federations award a softer look. Some federations look for a tighter look. You know, it is hard, and as we've touched on already, you know, some federations that are untested, well, generally you're going to be competing against assisted athletes. So you know, there's a big difference there with potentially how you're going to look on your aesthetic. So there's so many factors. But when you go into bodybuilding, I don't know about you, but I was like, God, you know, you're just getting judged on a physique, you get your nutrition and your training right, and that's that. But there's a lot more that goes
into it. If someone would have told me how much it costs as well, I don't think I'd have been like, maybe not.
Yeah. This is it, you know. And again, something that I think of is appropriate as a coach is if someone asks you about going into prep and maybe they're a client already and they're transitioning through, having a call or a conversation about this is actually how much it's going to cost.
I think someone put something together, a coach or something that I follow.
Yeah.
And it was literally a list of like one show, and it came to nearly just under £2,000. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
Because
what the hell?
There's so much, isn't there? It's like the bikini, there's different tiers, of course.
Oh my God.
Like, you know, the higher tier one, we're talking maybe £600.
Yeah. Thank God. Right. I won a giveaway from Black Ice. So
did you?
Yeah. So I've got to get it made this year because it gets expired after this year. But I'm going to get it all sorted. But that means I've got to decide my colour. What happens if I get it and then go, I want a different colour now?
It'd be like, maybe I need a second one.
Excuse me. Change it, please.
Talking about bikinis for the first timers listening is something that you have to look into and book, you know, potentially if you're going to visit the place that you're getting your
book a fit in. But I think the lesson that I learned was make sure you go with one of the expensive brands, because I went with a smaller brand and my bikini only cost like £300, but it just wasn't what I sent a photo as.
Yeah, for sure. And so something like Black Ice, you know, they're big.
Black Ice, you see the work and it's absolutely, utterly flawless. Like there's not one mistake in line. Like So you got Black Ice, you got George Rose, you got Miss Bikini, Time to Shine Bikini. They top 4. So if you want to get a bikini, one of them 4, go for that.
Yeah,
they're the ones that I've literally looked at and gone, yeah, I should have gone with them.
And you get, like you say, you know, looking at a photo, you actually get what you're looking at.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, and I feel like, you know, when all of my bikinis have been from Black Eyes, apart from one, I actually got one sponsored for a show, which was with Diva
Nice.
Footwear. Yeah, it was super cool to try a different bikini, and
yeah,
they are on point with the measurements. It's exactly what you need to do, and you get sent that, or you look on their website, and then everything's really easy because they give you all the lines, you know, exactly what they want. And for you, obviously going into figure, it's a different suit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the crossback. But when I got a posing suit, I went straight for the figure suit, and then she just made attachments so I could put it as a bikini if I wanted to.
Ah, okay.
So I feel like I already had in mind that I wanted to do figure more than bikini.
Yeah.
But obviously bikini first to get like my foot into the water and seeing how it is.
Yeah. Because you don't know till you try it either. I know some people, they've done a show and it's not for them, and that's okay. Like, you don't know till you try, but it is, of course, prep is hard, and I definitely urge people, you know, if you're looking to take on a challenge, I wouldn't say a bodybuilding prep is just a challenge.
Yeah, it's life.
How can you summarize?
It's really extreme as like a challenge. It's like, I've got a client that wanted to compete this year, and I was like, why don't we do a photo shoot prep first, see how you get on with that, then next year focus on the areas of improvement that we need. Like, she needs to build a bit of upper body more, even though it's bikini. Like, her glutes and quads are phenomenal, but those do need to be added. So I've gone like, we'll do a photo shoot prep, and then we'll go into a nice off season and then compete next year. Yeah,
because of course, you know, I would have spoken about this on the pod. When you do a photo shoot prep with a coach, it gives you the experience of being coached. It gives you the experience of what's required to get, you know, pretty lean. Yeah. And for your coach, ideal opportunity for them to go, right, where do we gear this improvement season?
Yeah.
The improvement season is something that we need to have timeline per se. You know, as a coach, I definitely recommend that there's goals in place. So what are we looking to achieve? And depending on when a client has come to you, some people come to you and they've already come out the back of a show, and maybe their reverse has been tough, and you've got to sort of realign things. And I'm sure you'll come across this with clients, because the reverse out and the post-show period, if you're not being coached during that time, it's very, very hard, isn't it? And
it's like, even if you are being coached, I was really, really lucky with the experience I had. It wasn't as bad as what I've heard. Like, I've heard obviously people reversed out of it really badly, but then I've heard of other people being admitted to hospital because now they're developing an eating disorder.
Yes.
It's that extreme. And I'm shocked to this day that I had a good reverse. I just don't know how it happened.
Yeah, especially being your first time into that. I mean, I guess in the back of your mind, if you wanted to go into figure and take that step up, as it were, got to take it pretty seriously off the bat, haven't you?
Yeah, like, it's a lot leaner, it's a lot more muscle mass, so it's going to be tougher.
And you've got a longer period in a surplus, so you don't want to go balls deep and put on a lot of weight, and then it's, where do you go for 3 years?
Yeah, that's it. I've had 2 mini cuts so far.
And
I think I'm aiming to have one more before I prep again.
Okay. And is that, you know, like most people, to sort of tidy up and go again?
Yeah, that's literally it. I think we're going to do that at the back end of this year. And then the final push to around Easter in 2024, and then prep. Nice to have that kind of organization and them slots in line, because then it's something that you're always working for. But you could easily say, oh, I'm working for stage next year or whatnot. But what are you doing to be able to make yourself better for that day?
Yeah. And for off season, if you're new to coaching and you're going with a different coach, or it's a first off season, there is periods of time where you've just got to gather data and assess what's happening, because there's no one size fits all. It's, you might have to keep your macros quite similar for a long period of time, because the body just slowly ticks up and it goes well. I mean, what experience have you had in regards to macro changes and what you've had to do over this sort of 2 years so far?
So I think my food hasn't gone up more than like 2,300 calories in total on a training day. But I am fairly small. I'm 5 foot. I don't think I need a lot of food unless my metabolism or like my body was just really, really good with food. Obviously, it's not amazing. It's a lot better than what it used to be, but it's still not great. Force feeding is not nice.
No, again, something you can touch on in off season. I remember those times where, when I've been in that period through summer, I always remember uncomfortable periods where it's hot and you're trying up to,
it's so tough.
Yeah, my calories are pretty high now. I'm up to, I think, 3.6, and it's okay at the moment. I'm not too bad, but winter's very difficult. Well,
how do you do that?
I know. I mean, going assisted has obviously had a big difference for me.
Okay. Yeah.
And this last prep, as you know, I really pushed to the depths that I didn't probably realize were possible. They are, but you don't know where each prep's going to go. And I got lean. My feedback was that I brought probably too much condition actually this time.
Yeah.
But I've been there you, being told that I need more condition. So it's like, that mind was. Yeah.
I can remember Hannah's Health on Instagram. She put up a post talking about like how different federations will give you different feedback. So UK DFBA, she got put from, I think, women's physique to figure because she wasn't conditioned enough. Then the next day she did PCA, went for tone figure, but then got told she needs to be an athletic figure. It's so confusing.
Honestly, like, this is one of the reasons I say to people that if you're competing, remember, this is subjective and you need to have a strong why. Honestly.
And the feedback, if it's different feedback, honestly, just take it with a pinch of salt. Because if you are going into different federations, you do need to be aware that you're not always going to get the same feedback.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're always going to peak differently as well from the feedback that you just had.
It's mental, like, what the peak, the difference, especially when you go down the PD route, like what goes into a peak is, it is more complex, and one of those things can be out of line, and that's it. Yeah. And as you know, from peaking yourself, it's very easy and naturally and assisted, you can easily spill. And it's very hard to then come back from it. What I actually found, being on the almost too lean side for this time, it would have been very difficult for me to fuck it up in regards to how lean I got. That was a nice position to be in. And actually, for me, it was very cathartic, similar to our talks earlier about, I like bodybuilding for the physique and what you can push yourself to. So my why was how shredded I can get. And that, on reflection, that wasn't really suited to the category and what I was doing. But, as we got leaner, it was like, I really want to push. Because as you know, in prep, you get to a new low weigh-in and there's different types.
You see the lines. You see the vascularity and you're like, nice.
Can I push more? And that's why the figure category and the categories above that are appealing to certain personalities.
100%.
But of course, it's a different look, isn't it? There is, like I touched on earlier, going with your frame, your genetics, etc. There's certain people that I come across and it's like, you're meant to be whatever category it is because that shape is there. Was that something you sort of, obviously your ambition was to do figure, did you have talks with your coach or people around you to say, is it possible for me to go into that category?
So obviously I was spoken to my coach at the time my first coach before I went to my second coach. I feel like a bit of a client. I've only had 3 coaches, to be fair. I've seen some people like hop about.
Serial coach people.
And like my first 2 coaches and Jack, they all said like the same, go for figure. Like you at WMBF, you said if you go for figure, just take some time out. You said 2 years.
Yeah.
And I've decided to take another year out.
Yeah, but you know, you're in a spot where you're in a really good place in life. Now, this is again something to focus on. If you're in a good spot in life, physique development, like you almost said earlier, becomes easier in regards to you can nail your recovery, you can nail your training, you can nail your nutrition, you've got a support network. So then to go, actually, I'm at a good spot in my off season. How much more muscle could I put on if I take another year to be even more competitive? It's bloody fantastic. A lot of people that do this. Carly came on the pod and she did a 3-year off season because she was changing.
Yeah.
It is something you've got to do. And I think there is elements of sort of FOMO, but then when you see yourself progressing, you're like, well, actually, what am I missing out on? I want to be competitive, and that's more important.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. Obviously, when I go and watch shows, that's other people's time to shine. It's not my time to go yet.
I love that. Love that.
And I think for me, there is one girl that I've looked at since starting the whole bodybuilding thing. Her name's Dr. Zena on Instagram.
Okay.
Her start of prep in 2020 to this year is absolutely phenomenal. Like, she's going to absolutely crush anyone else who steps on stage. Like,
it's a longer off season as well.
3 years, yeah. So I look at that and I'm just like, that's me.
Yeah.
Like that's why I want to stay behind, because I want to be more ready and have this beautiful transformation that she's had.
Yeah, it's going to be so sick for you to see those.
It's so exciting. Definitely going to go watch more shows as well, because I need to watch like a lot more of the natural federations, so then I know kind of what the standard is, what I'm up against, what I need to be prepared for.
Yeah, and also it gives you a feel for those federations. You may go and watch a show, and I've had this before. I thought I'll go and watch a show with a different federation and see what the vibe is. And actually, I thought, I don't think this federation's for me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, and it sounds like you may do multiple federations. This is something I recommend as well. You get a feel. There's nothing wrong with competing with multiple federations. If you do find one that you really resonate with and you're going to push for a pro card, say,
yes,
compete internationally, this type of thing, then yes, pursue one. But I think federations are much more open now than they were, say, 6 years ago, to you competing with different federations rather than one.
100%. I do think it also depends on whether you're natural or enhanced as well, because obviously me doing bikini, I did PCA, NFM UK, and that's where we met, and then I did WMBF. Now going into 2024, it's UK DFBA, BMBF, WMBF. That's it.
Yeah,
that's just the choice that I want.
Yeah, and of course, also, I think people need to consider, do they want to compete internationally?
Yeah.
You know, is there other opportunities with certain federations that you may not get with other federations? What are your ambitions from the sport? Because if you want to go international, if you want to get a pro card, it is a different ball game, of course.
Yeah, 100%. And with WMBF, I got invited to go international.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't, because my bank account was like, not a chance.
You have to
and it was time to like put the heels away and go and grow, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think a bit of my feedback was, you're starting to get tired. You're starting to get fatigued.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, fair.
That's I am.
Understandable. I was like, yeah, it's my 4th show. I've done 3 back-to-back. I'm a bit dead.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we could talk about as well. It's really interesting. Peaking back to back. It's mental, isn't it, when you think back?
It's a whirlwind.
Honestly.
I can't remember the majority. Like, I can remember a few things from my show days, but I can't remember absolutely everything. And it's a thing where you should be able to remember everything.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but when you look back at your prep in its entirety, when you look at what goes into a prep, you think, fucking hell.
Like, I look back now and in my head, I'm kind of like, how did I do that? Like, how did I do it?
Yeah, I have these exact moments, and I actually had, I guess, more light bulb moments this prep, because being with Matt and that being a fairly new relationship, and being with someone that wasn't into bodybuilding, it wasn't so relatable. And he was like, what you've done to get here, like, I've never seen anyone go robot mode like you. Like, people say they go robot mode, but you go robot. And I'm like, no, you know, I just do.
That's just me.
Yeah. And then, you know, he talks about stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, I did a thing.
It's like, did I? Oh yeah. Prep time.
It's crazy. And for you, it'd be really interesting actually to do the prep with Jack, because I wonder how that'll be. I speak to a lot of girls backstage and things, and even on Instagram and stuff, about their other halves eating a lot more in a diet phase if they're dieting together. So of course the male's going to be on more calories, and that can sometimes skew your thoughts towards each other.
Yeah, so we did a mini cut together, and I think his lowest amount of calories was like 2,500.
Okay.
Mine were 1,000.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I was actually okay. I didn't mind it. I think the last few days I did get fairly fatigued, and I was like going to sleep a lot and stuff like that. But I got it done. And like, if he had like a massive meal, and I had like this little bit of like bolognese and veg, he was like, "I'm really sorry to do this in front of you." I was like, "No, it's fine. I choose to do this. Yeah, that's it."
Yeah.
Like, I think the other week I literally went down to the kitchen of my parents' house. It's like huge, and we have this massive pantry with loads of different snacks and carbs and stuff. And I kind of look at it and I go, "How the hell did I do prep when this was available every single day?"
Yeah, it shows what tunnel vision does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, tunnel vision isn't something that you sort of go in and out of. I think that, I guess with bodybuilding, like, there is this sort of air of people catch on to sayings, right? So like, "Oh yeah, I'm going dark and whatever else," and then they slip up or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going dark, if you've got tunnel vision, all of these things that fly around, no one needs to know about that. You just do it. You don't tell everyone.
Yeah.
You just, it's not something, some people maybe don't have that there, and it's something that can grow. A lot of us, it's something that's sort of within us already. I think it comes when I go into a prep. I don't know where it comes from. You're probably the same. It's like, how do I turn into that person?
Yeah, it's like, how do I just go and get everything done? It's really mad. But yeah, like, I do like to hype up my followers, don't get me wrong. Because when I was on prep, I was like, yeah, we're doing this, everything's done. Like, its actions always speak louder than words, and you can definitely tell, especially when people hit stage, where their actions lie against their words.
Yeah, for sure, because there's a lot that goes into a prep. And I always remember a conversation with my coach actually, where he said, if you eat a burger, say, we'll give a burger as an example, in a prep, even if you win, you'll always remember that you ate that burger and you might have looked a bit better.
Yeah.
If you come second, if you come third, if you don't place, you're always
going to regret it.
Yeah. Was it that burger that I ate? So for me, and it sounds like you're the same, it's not an option to do those things.
No. No.
It's
just not.
You've got to work out what's worth it. When you go into a prep, you can't facilitate certain things. It's just as simple as that. And are you in the position to do that? Do you actually want to do that? And what are you doing it for? It is a solo journey, although, of course, with Jack, with Matt, we share that, but it's you having to get your ass out of bed in the morning and go and do all of these things.
Yeah, no one's going to do anything for you. But I can remember like being on prep, and I was like enjoying it so much and like so dedicated. And I had like a few like fellow competitors that I followed on social media and stuff like that, going out drinking on prep, cheating on the diet on prep. And in my head, I'm just like, why? Like, why put yourself up for that? And then when I unfollowed it, ended up in a bit of an argument. But I don't want to see that. That's not what I'm here for.
Yep. It's something I talk about on the pod. Unfollow people that aren't serving you. That is hard in itself, because you sort of feel bad, and then you think, we're not at school anymore. You don't have to be someone else. You don't have to like certain people. You don't have to mix in certain crowds, especially for you having Jack. Like, I don't know if you can resonate with this, but it just, you think, well, I've got my person, so you've got other people that you appreciate, but as long as they're there, at least you're not going to be on your own.
See, even like if I followed someone and I didn't 100% agree with things that they were saying, and Jack's just turning around like, why don't you just unfollow them? I'm like, what? I can actually do that. And if you don't want to unfollow them, mute them.
Yeah, because that is a thing, what you intake is in essence what you become, because what it's like when you follow someone and every time you see a post from them, you have this like negative thought, and then you still follow them.
Yeah, it's because I'm too nice. You're too nice, and you're like, I don't want to cause conflict.
Yeah. But bodybuilding, like, it's not a nice sport in some respect. There is
Yeah,
dark areas of it.
it's mad. I've had some backlash from unfollowing people, but then I'm just like, okay, well, your Instagram doesn't fit with how I align with mine, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, some people, some people.
Yeah, it is hard.
Yeah,
It's
it's
conserving your
some mad
energy.
ones still. But then that's energy that people may like. That's not like I've known loads of people to unfollow me. I don't really care if they don't like my stuff. Then that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I'm not forcing everyone to go and watch my stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But also, you know, what you're doing, what I find as a, you know, big positive, committing to a long growth phase, sharing that,
Yeah,
there will be a lot of people out there that have never committed to a long off season and they don't like it because it's not something they've been able to do.
yeah, 100%. I think when we do like back-to-back shows and you do them vigorously, like I've known people to obviously take their off seasons. I've known people to do a show like have 4 months off season. That's nowhere near enough time.
You're only just going to recover.
Yeah, that's it. And to do with like hormones and like stress levels and recovery, there's not going to be much improvement in your next show.
Yeah, yeah. Especially like you say, hormonally, the adjustments that take place in a prep. I don't think, you know, sometimes there's not maybe enough information out there as to how actually extreme this sport is, and it's not healthy getting to stage condition. It's as simple as that. And to then only have that short space of time, you know what it's like, sleep's affected, a lot of things, even food pathologies. I don't know if you had that. Obviously you'll reverse out when as well as it could be expected, but you treat food in a different way off the back of a prep.
Food is fuel, and I went straight back into a meal plan and had obviously one off plan meal every day. No, not every day. Jesus Christ. I want to say that though, if it's every day, every week. But if I wanted, like, I did order quite a load of them cookies from the cookie dealer. If I did want like some of that, I would like literally cut off what did I do? I cut 6 pieces out of the cookie, put them all in the freezer, and then if I wanted one, just got a little one out, satisfied. And that helped a lot for me, but I know that it wouldn't help for some people.
Yeah, because of course, you know, you'd want to eat the whole thing. But what in that sort of realm, you know, I say to clients, if we are incorporating something like that, have that with a meal or after a meal. So something like, you know, if you were going to have a slice of a cookie, you could have protein, yogurt and fruit as an example, and then have the bit of cookie after. And actually, like, it's much easier to then go, I'm satiated. Whereas if you just have, you know, like if you just had 2 bits of dairy milk, you'd be like, well, I definitely want the whole bar.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna just eat the whole bar now.
Do you incorporate off-plan meals at the moment in off-season?
Yeah.
Nice. How do
at
you
least one a week, maybe 2 a week.
Okay.
I am changing to a meal plan just so I can get used to eating the same foods. And then it helps a lot with like the food shop and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. And when you have off plan, do you have like a certain structure you take on that day?
So it's literally just like having the lower meals. So like if it's a training day, we don't really fuss, but if it's like a rest day, have like all my first meals within the day, apart from if it's a training day and it's meal number 1, no carbs.
Yeah.
Just so that helps me. Yeah. So it's like low carb meal 1, no carb meal 1 even, low carb meal 2, and then we put meal 3 and 4 together for the off plan.
Yeah.
So it's pretty smart when you're doing like that. And then obviously you fit it within your food and you've not actually ate that much more than what your macros and your calories are. So then it doesn't feel as bad.
Yeah. I definitely find as well that I'm more hungry if I do it that way. So I enjoy the meal more.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can actually enjoy it.
Yeah. And it's more, I don't know about you, but the palate experience, someone else cooking for you, going out, that's what it's for. It's not, I'm going to eat a load of shit.
Yeah, you can just literally pick your feet up and just chill. Even if it's like just a home cooked meal, like if my parents did like a pizza, because we have a pizza oven, fancy, did like a homemade pizza or did like lasagna or something, I know that I can have that, enjoy it, and then go, okay, it's not going to kill my gains, it's not going to kill off my progress, we're fine.
Yeah. And with your IBS that you touched on earlier, is that something that's off the back of doing a prep, or have you always struggled with?
Struggled with it mainly when I was like 17. That's when I got diagnosed. And then from there to when I first started the whole bodybuilding process, I was not eating a lot. I think first lockdown, I was having salmon rice and some strawberries, and that was literally it. And I wouldn't eat till 4 in the afternoon.
We learned. Yeah.
I was good at fasting, but it's not good.
Yeah.
And that's when I hit my lowest weight at 45, and I was kind of like, right, I need to wake up. I need to go and do something. And I wanted to do this bodybuilding thing since I was like 16, 17. And here's another reason why I want to do the WNBF World Champs international thing. The girl who I was first inspired by competes at the WNBF international. Her name's Jessica Arevalo.
Okay.
But she's been doing it back in the day. She went to Olympia, and now she does the natural bodybuilding side of it. So I'd love to go up to her one day and go, you're basically the reason why I'm here. Like, thank you.
Yeah, that's like me for Carly. Like, when I first met her, she was the first like person that I put on a pedestal, and I was like, wow, you know, like we say about the different categories, like I was like, this category is so cool, like she is it. And I was just like,
which one was that? Was it figure or physique?
So she was figure or physique? I think she was figure.
Because I was looking at her pictures, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, because now she's wellness.
Yeah, but she suits the category so well.
Yeah, and of course her training has had to adapt for that. And you know, going back to our conversation today about changing categories, you know, you have to put research into what is needed for that category, and you have to do things that maybe you don't want to do sometimes, you know.
Yeah,
it's when you make a specialization block for a client and they're like, do I really have to do this? And you're like, if you want this outcome,
that's what you want, then yeah, that's it
for sure. So you also have a bit of an exciting announcement to make. So perhaps before we wrap up, you could give us some information on your new sponsor.
Okay, so it hasn't been officially put out yet, so I don't know if this is going to come out before or the post, but I am officially sponsored by Elite Subs.
Okay, cool. And what do they specialize in?
They obviously specialize in like bodybuilding, but it's like a wholesale instead of, it's like load up subs and stuff like that. So it's not just like one brand.
Yeah.
So you've got all your high quality proteins and other supplements that they sell. Yeah, it just makes it a lot easier. So then I can be honest about products, and I'm not just like hyping them up to hype them up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because that's actually something that I've found difficult in the past if I was going to go down the sponsored route of like, you know, when you see people on Instagram stories like eating a protein bar, like, this is delicious. I'm like, that is not me.
Is it actually that nice?
Yeah. And I guess, you know, for anyone listening, if they were looking at sponsorship, what route did you have to go down to get a sponsor?
I just post how I post, and then the opportunities have come to me. So with my TikTok, it's at 50,000 followers.
Nice.
Which is mad. I don't know why it's still there, because I haven't really posted a lot. But when TikTok's I was on prep, I literally did like a 10-second video of me like turning around doing a back flex and turning back, and it got over 10 million views, and it's still going now.
Yeah.
And yeah, CMP approached me and wanted to sponsor me, which was great. But I think in the end, it was kind of like that we didn't align the same like aims and targets, and that's absolutely fine. It happens. You're not always going to have a sponsorship forever, and don't ever fully rely on a sponsorship to fulfill needs as a bodybuilder.
Yeah. So basically being your authentic self, which is an undercurrent of today, and what we always, I think this is why we gel so much, is because we are just honest, authentic people. We are who we are, and that is a really good way to end the pod, because that is something that everyone needs to remember, who you are, what makes you happy, and then gaining things like recognition in this form of sponsorship or whatever that may be, is where it is, the universe.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, the universe works for you.
If you're yourself, people will appreciate you a lot more, and you will get a lot more support than trying to be someone else. 100%. Because you can vibe it. I don't know what it is, but you can vibe it when someone's not themselves.
Yeah. And of course, you know, if you're not yourself and you're sort of leading this fictitious life, you're going to slip up, you know, it's confusing.
Oh god,
Make
it
life
is.
easy. Be your own person.
Yeah, honest, just be yourself, and that's like the potential is like endless.
Yeah, for sure.
For
Thank you
real.
so much for coming on today, G.
That's okay. Honestly, you sent me the message, and I was just like, I just started jumping up and down in the middle of this like room whilst everyone else was watching F1.
Like,
I was like, "What's up?" And I was like, "Sarah, let me do a podcast with them."
I love this though, because
Oh,
you listen as well, and you've always supported me, and I'm always going to support you. And that's what it's about. Bodybuilding is cool.
100%.
You let it be.
Yes, 100%.
So, of course, if anyone does resonate and wants to follow on the gram, what is your handle?
It's literally Rimini Fit. So,
Easy.
do I spell that out? Because it's not the easiest one to do. But then again, you got my
Yeah.
name
In the description.
the title, yes. So, if anyone struggles, just look at the look at the photo.
Someone may be listening that is going to look to change category, and I'm sure your inbox is open if anyone does want to reach out.
For sure, I've helped loads of people, even when it's been like someone wanted to double check with bikini post PCR. I was like, send them through. Come on, I'll come help.
Yeah, we're here to help. So if anyone does want to, and of course, share it on your stories or reach out to either of us if you can resonate with anything we have been talking about. But thank you, and I'll speak to you very soon.
See you in a bit.
See you later.